Well, hello, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us today or this evening, depending on where you are around the world. Welcome to our webinar for unpacking the new ICF Core Competencies. My name is Sandra Mull. I'm the program advisor here at Coaching Out of the Box, and I will be your host for today's webinar. So the focus of the webinar is to provide you with a clear understanding of the changes in the ICF Core Competencies, to answer any questions that you have, as well as to get to know a little more about us here at Coaching Out of the Box. So after the webinar, you can expect a follow-up email that will include a PDF version of the slides from today's webinar, and any other further resources that we talk about today, as well as a link to the recording for this webinar. For those of you in attendance, you will receive a certificate for 1 CCE for being present here at the webinar today. And again, chat is open. Please use it. We love hearing from you. We want to hear all of your questions and your comments. It just makes our job so much more fun, especially because there's so many of you joining us. And I see lots of familiar names, and I see a couple of you that I haven't met yet, which is fantastic. We're so happy that you're here with us today. So as I mentioned, I'm Sandra Mull, program advisor here at Coaching Out of the Box. I have the pleasure of speaking to individuals every day about our programs here at Coaching Out of the Box and about coaching in general. So if you do have any questions, you're more than welcome to reach out to me. You can see my calendar link on the screen. You can send an email to advisor@coachingoutofthebox.com. I would love to connect with you and help you out in any way I can. And joining us today is the wonderful Elias Scultori, one of our amazing coach facilitators here at Coaching Out of the Box, and a very established coach in his own business and as a mentor coach as well. So Elias, please take it away.
Oh, thank you, Sandra. And thank you, everybody. I am looking here at the chat and I see some familiar names. So welcome, everyone. And some new names, as Sandra mentioned, and everywhere, Toronto, Ottawa, Arizona, California, Buongiorno now. So welcome, everyone. It's wonderful to connect with everybody here. And it's always a huge privilege to talk with you. At any point during this presentation, if you have any questions, or if you want to say anything, please use the chat room. And Sandra is going to be monitoring that for me. Sandra, if you see anything that we need to include here in the conversation, please let me know, okay?
I promise you I will.
Excellent. So I guess we should go to the next slide here, because today we are going to talk about the ICF Core Competencies. Oh, but Sandra, you have something to do first.
You can see on the screen what we're going to talk about today. We're going to briefly touch on what is the ICF in case there's anybody in the room that doesn't know. We're going to discuss the research that was conducted by the ICF in regards to the revised set of competencies, and then unpacking the new competency model, comparing the models, and then answering any questions that you have. I am just going to go ahead, just so we can get a good sense of who is in the room today. I'm just going to share a quick poll, and if you wouldn't mind just taking a quick minute to answer the poll, that would be fantastic. For those of you listening on the recording, this is just a poll to tell us a little bit about who you are. So the questions that we're asking is, I want to become a full or a part-time coach with my own practice. I want to continue working in an organization that adds coaching skills to be a more effective and valuable employee. I want to have a second career in coaching after I retire, one that provides more flexibility and freedom. I want to continue working in my profession, but supplement this with part-time coaching. I want to develop coaching skills to become a more effective leader and advance in leadership positions. And what I should have done is added a sixth question that says, I am already a credentialed coach, because I assume that today we are going to have a few credentialed coaches in here that are just looking for a little more, somebody else's perspective in a sense on the changes. So we're just going to give it another 10 seconds here. Oh, that's fantastic. We have Nihad joining us, who's already an MCC and an ICF assessor. That's fantastic that you're here. We look forward to your wisdom as well. And I'm going to go ahead and end the polling. And I'll share the results with you all just so you can kind of take a look. So the majority of you are wanting to become a credentialed coach or are a credentialed coach. Some of you, almost half, work within organizations. People love the flexibility and freedom that a second career in coaching can bring us, which is great. I think we can all appreciate that one. That's fantastic. Thank you all so much. I'm going to stop the share results and move it over to you.
Thank you, Sandra. What could we do here at Coaching Out of the Box without Sandra, right? She helps us with everything. So Sandra, thank you so much for your support and for all that you create for us here, Coaching Out of the Box. Again, everybody, wonderful to have you here. We will be talking about the ICF the updated model of the ICF Core Competencies. This new model was released at the end of 2019, at the end of last year. This year has been the year of transition between the present model and the new model, and where all of the accredited schools are updating their curriculum, and everyone that is involved with these competencies updating the systems so that we launch and we are able to really fully integrate the updated model in 2021. The ICF is working very hard towards certification, the written exam that you have to go through, the CKA, and making sure that all the systems are ready for full integration of this updated model. But let's talk a little bit about the ICF specifically, because some of you may not necessarily know about the ICF. The ICF is the International Coaching Federation. This is the body, the largest body organization that really certifies and regulates or monitors what's the coaching profession worldwide. We have, I believe last time I checked, 31,000 or more credential coaches from all around the world. The ICF is truly a global organization that sets the standards for coaching all around the world. And it's not just the credential coaches, but the ICF works very hard in accrediting coaching training programs around the world as well, making sure that the programs are to a certain standard, like the one here that we have at Coaching Out of the Box, making sure that we are following specific parameters for the training of new coaches. So that we establish a real understanding of what coaching truly is, what are the expectations for the profession, and one point that we are going to talk a little bit more later on, the whole ethics of coaching, which is so important since coaching is a self-regulated profession. So for the ICF, we have this definition of what coaching is, and I'm going to read this for you. Partnering with clients, customers, colleagues, or employees in a thought-provoking and creative process that inspires them to maximize their personal and professional potential. So every time I show this definition in a classroom, I always ask the participants and the students, what catches your eye here? You know, what is a specific term that is important for you, that is the highlight of this? So if you could perhaps put on in the chat box, what is one word here of this definition that is really important to you, that you never thought about that as being part of a definition of coaching? So I see thought-provoking, inspires partnering, potential, love that. Thought-provoking, again, creative process, I can see that. And those are usually the highlights of this particular definition. Partnering is it's the crucial part of coaching. And it is what distinguishes coaching from other professions like consulting, therapy, and mentoring, or even, you know, sometimes when I am in coaching training or leading a coaching class, I always like to make the distinction between coaching and being a parent as well. This whole aspect of partnering and being at peer-to-peer relationship is very important to coaching, instead of I have the expertise, or I have the knowledge, or I am here to support you in a healing process, or I'm here to take care of you as a parent would do. As coaches, we are partnering with our clients. So we are really not necessarily coming with an expert. We don't necessarily need to be experts in the subject matter itself, but we are experts in the structure of the coaching conversation. This is our job. We may not know the right answer, the right solutions for that particular situation, or the recommendation for that particular issue that the client is living in that particular moment. And that is not our role. Our role is really to create this structure of the coaching conversation where the client is able to navigate through that situation, have the space to look at the situation through different perspectives. And by taking a look and by situating themselves differently in perspective to that particular situation, then the client is able to say, oh, these are the things that I hadn't considered before. I have a little bit more clarity about this situation. Therefore, I'm going to act differently. I'm going to do something differently. We always say that coaching really, the idea of the coaching is really bring the client into action, but a different set of actions that they did before, actions that are inspired by this new awareness that came through the coaching process. So as coaches, our job is to really provide this structure. And this is what the ICF Core Competencies give us, is this idea of what is the structure of the coaching conversation that will enable the client to see the situation through a different perspective. And that's why the ICF originally, the core competency model had 11 core competencies. So 11 competencies that we as coaches needed to be experts in, and experts in how to demonstrate them within a coaching conversation. Now with the updated model, which has been streamlined and made it a lot more concise and clear, we came down from 11 to 8 core competencies. So we are going to see this as we go along. So Sandra, if you could give me the next slide here. For this to happen, for this transition and to get to this new updated model, the ICF really went through a 2-year process, painstaking process that the ICF went through during these 2 years, engaging clients and coaches, engaging coaches from all around the world to really check on what is the best practice here. We have these core competencies. Are they still relevant? Do we need to change anything? Do we need to move or add or take something that is not relevant anymore? What do we need to do? And this is job analysis research that the ICF did. It's something that any reputable organization needs to do and does on a regular basis. Usually, every 5-7 years, it's important to check: is the practice that we have, is that still relevant? Because we know that the world changes. Things that worked for us in the 1960s don't necessarily work for us now in the beginning, almost the middle of the 21st century. The world is different. There are more people around. There are other situations. Technology is different. So how are we going to change and adapt? The same thing with coaching. It's important for us to check and see, is still relevant? It's still working. And this is the job analysis that the ICF did during this two-year period of time. This was done independently. So it was not something that the ICF did internally within, their own mindset, but it was really a process done independent from the whole process of ICF specifically. There were ICF credential coaches involved, but there were coaches outside of the ICF world involved in this process as well, so that we would get solid data for this development of the new competency, new core competency model. Next slide, we see that here is a description of the process itself. So the kickoff of this research started in October of 2017. And it took 2 years for this process to happen. There was lots of interviews with subject matter experts within the coaching profession. By doing that, they identified core points that we needed to pay attention to. What happens in the coaching interview, the coaching conversation, that moment that the coach is face-to-face with the client? What are specific points happening in that interaction that are relevant and effective? And they started collecting all of these critical incidents, and they collected more than 280 incidents that they needed to identify. Then they had face-to-face workshops trying to group them, understand these incidents. They got into knowledge, abilities, and other characteristics, the KAO. And so they got to a point where they had 79 core tasks and 56 core KAOs. And they came together again in workshops and with coaches from all around the world to really analyze the data and recommend specific changes of the ICF core competencies. Next slide, we say that this is the result of this research. They realized that virtually all of the concepts of the past model, the previous model, were still very relevant. And so all of these concepts are still included in the updated model of the competencies. This is very important for us to notice, because nothing really changed with this new core updated model of the core competencies. Nothing really changed in the moment that we are working with our clients. That moment of coaching is still relevant, and it's still the same process that we have with the client. Regardless if we are in the past model, the previous model, or the updated model, the coaching conversation is still that coaching conversation where there is the coaching agreement, there is a period of discovery, there is a place where we bring the client into an action plan. This model is still there. What happened was that this updated core competency model is more streamlined and succinct and cohesive. If you've seen the 11 core competencies of the previous model, you can see that it's very verbose. It had 1,537 words, and the updated model only has 1,100 words. So it really got a lot smaller and succinct and streamlined and easier to comprehend. And this was the great advantage of this updated model. It's consistent language. You're going to notice that every single competency, it starts with a verb. So it's not just a concept anymore, but it's something that we as coaches do and needs to demonstrate. So there is a consistency of language. And also we noticed that there were some concepts that needed to be enhanced, that needed to be really put a spotlight on, because those are fundamental concepts that we need to bring to the coaching conversation. I just noticed here someone in the chat room saying that no more overlap. Exactly. There were many points in the previous model that perhaps same idea showed in different moments of the core competencies. So this is exactly what is beautiful about these competencies. So themes, specific themes that happened when you look at this new model: a huge emphasis on ethics. And this is something that I see. I've been involved with the ICF for the past, 16 years now. And I can see this real progression of the ICF, more and more the emphasis on ethics. And this is crucial and so important, right? As a self-regulated profession, following an ethical code of ethics and ethical behavior is crucial for us. This is one of the advantages of being an ICF certified coach. This is one of the advantages and the distinction between just calling ourselves coaches and really going through the process of certification and really going through the process of training and certification with the ICF, because then we are not a rogue coach, but we are really connected with a community. And by saying that, by being a certified coach, we are saying we abide by these ethics. We abide by the guidelines. This is so crucial for the reputation of our profession. And the ICF has put even a stronger emphasis on the ethical behavior and confidentiality within these core competencies. There has been an extension of the coaching agreement, because we have noticed that the coaching agreement, if we are coaches, we know, and if you have been in training, especially if you have been in training with me, you know that there is a lot of stress on coaching agreement. If we don't have a coaching agreement, and this, I'm not talking about the overarching coaching agreement, I'm talking about the coaching agreement of every session with the client. If we don't know where the client wants to go in every session, we don't know where to go, right? So it's very important to have that coaching agreement. So there has been an expansion of the coaching agreement within the new core competency, an enhancement of the idea, the concept of partnership. And this is what we talked about earlier today, this whole idea that we are not there necessarily there to give answers or solutions to the client, but we are in this moment of partnership. We are together, and together we are going to be able to bring the client into this discovery mode for them to decide what they are going to do next. Huge emphasis on professional development as well. As coaches, we know that we are never done. There is no such a thing as done. Okay, I went through coaching training, I got my certification, and that's it. Well, not exactly. Coaching is an organic practice, and coaching is still in its infancy as far as profession. We are still growing, we're still developing, we're still learning and polishing our practice. And you know, proof of this is to have a new set of competencies here. So there is this professional development that has to be ingrained in us. This idea that we are lifelong learners, that there is always the importance of us to stay up to date with best practices. What's happening in the coaching world? How can what is the new discovery about coaching, or the new research about coaching that I need to be aware of? How can I polish the way I bring the coaching agreement with the client? How can I bring my client to action a little better? Regardless if we have 15, 20, 25, 30 years in the profession, or if we have an ACC, PCC, or MCC, this idea of constant development is crucial for the profession of coaching, and it's embedded in the new core competencies. We are going to talk about that later on. One thing that the ICF has been very mindful of in this new model is the idea of client context and culture. It's here in the updated model of the ICF Core Competencies, and it's also in the updated PCC markers that the ICF is going to be releasing in the next few days, actually. The PCC markers there are in alignment with these core competency, this new model. This whole idea that it's not just the moment of coaching, right? But it is about the client as a whole, and that the client is part of a system. And it can be the system of the country, the system of that particular culture. Remember, the ICF is a global organization. So these competencies do not only apply to North America, these competencies are there to apply to any culture around the world. So it's important for us to be mindful of the context and the culture of our clients. Having said that, this is not just culture of people from North America, from the Middle East, from Australia, Africa, or different geographic locations, but this is culture within an organization. The culture of this organization is different than the culture of the organization next door. The culture of this home is different than the culture of the home, the neighbor, next door. What is the context? So the application of all of this, the concepts of the core competencies, not only to the moment of coaching, not only to that cell or that little space in time, but really be mindful of the integration of the idea that the client is part of a whole system. And we as coaches need to be mindful of that as well. Okay. Let's go to the next slide. So here is the competencies and the comparison between the present model. I'm calling the present model because the present model is still on, and the updated model. So as I said before, the present model has 11 core competencies, and the updated model has 8 core competencies. And you're going to see that they correlate with each other. Number 1 has a different title, but it's all about ethics. So it's before it was meeting ethical guidelines of professional standards. Here, the ICF now is calling it demonstrates ethical practice. So this is something that an ICF certified coach must do and must be demonstrating when as a coach, demonstrate this ethical practice. So the importance, again, for all of us as coaches to be aware of the code of ethics of the ICF, and to get, by the way, together with the updated model of the core competencies, the ICF has released an updated code of ethics, and it's available for download at the ICF website, coachingfederation.org. So if you want to read the ethical code, the ethic code of the ICF, please do that and be informed in the ethic guidelines of the ICF. So this is all about ethics. And when I teach coaching fundamentals, one of the courses that we have here at Coaching Out of the Box, and we go through all of these competencies and we have to talk about competency number 1, I really say ethics is really the importance of knowing what coaching truly is and being in the role of a coach. So if you operate within the boundaries of coaching, right? You don't blur the lines, and you say you are a coach, and then all of a sudden you're being a consultant. You say you're a coach, and all of a sudden you're being a therapist or anything else. Then it's when ethics really gets, it's tricky there. It's very important for us to understand what the role of the coach is and stay in the role of the coach. And if we do that, most likely we are going to be very good and safe with this ethical guidelines here. So competency number 1 of the present model and competency number 1 of the updated model is very similar, okay? And it's all about ethics. The second competency in the updated model is something that is new, actually. Well, let me back up here. Not necessarily new. It was already embedded in the present model. It was already embedded in the previous model. It was not as clear, and it was not emphasized the way we have now. Now the ICF has really put the spotlight in the distinction between doing coaching and being a coach. And the ICF is really asking us as certified coaches to have an understanding of that distinction. Coaching is not just something that we do. Coaching is not just a skill set, but coaching is something, it is who we are. And everywhere we go, it's something that we really embody, this mindset of coaching. Coaching is not just a set of rules or a specific model that we use, but it's something that can and should be present in every interaction that we have with people around us. This aspect of being present. Are we truly present when we are talking with a friend? Or are we distracted? Are we truly present to ourselves? Right? We don't need to be. We don't need to have another person in order to be present. We can be present even if we are in the middle of the woods alone. This whole aspect of presence. Are we exercising this skill set of being present, being here in the moment, listening? Are we listening? Are we listening to ourselves? Are we listening to the person next to us? Are we listening to what life presents to us? When this idea of curiosity, being curious of what is different here? Or are we so set in our own mindset, in our own way of looking at the world, that we are unable to embrace the new, embrace what is possible, embrace the development of the world, right? This is also embodying the coaching mindset. So the ICF is very made a strong statement with the updated model of the core competencies that coaching is not just a skill set. Coaching is a way of life. Coaching is not just a methodology. Coaching is who we are. And it's important for us to really be in this mode of development, of growth, of openness, so that we are ambassadors of this mindset of coaching everywhere we go. Imagine if we had a world where coaching was a skill that everybody would have and would be embracing. It would be a different world, right? And this is what we are trying to emphasize in this competency. So that's why the competency number 2 is shaded in this pink color, because this is a new competency. There is no other competency specifically in the present model, but it was embedded there somehow, but it's now emphasized more than ever. Coaching competency number 2 of the present model is now competency number 3, which is all about the coaching agreement. And in this agreement, if you are already a trained coach, you understand that there are at least two or maybe 3 levels of coaching agreement. Broad strokes here, we have this overarching coaching agreement where we establish with the client, the parameters of the coaching process, how many times are we going to have coaching sessions a month, how long the coaching session is going to be, the fees, is this going to be in person, and where we're going to meet on Zoom. All of this is included in this overarching coaching agreement. But really, the aspect, and especially as far as certification goes, the assessors are really paying attention to how clearly defined are we able, how able are we to define the coaching agreement for each session, each conversation of that we have with our clients. Every time we are with a client, the client has a specific objective or a specific idea. Do I want to, where do I want to be at the end of this conversation? I have a situation here. What is the clarity that I'm looking for? So it's very important for us to establish that agreement, but maintain the agreement with that client as well. So both the overarching and the ongoing coaching agreement that happens in every session. Core competency number 3, trust and intimacy, has changed to cultivate trust and safety. And here is like a little inside story for all of you. For the longest time, the word intimacy did not quite land very well with certain translations of these competencies. You have to understand that these competencies are translated to several different languages around the world, and it wasn't easy to translate that word. And the word intimacy can have different connotations in many different cultures. So that's why the ICF very wisely was able to change that from establish trust and intimacy with the client to cultivate trust and safety, because this is the core of this competency. Without trust, without this building this connection with the client, where the client feels safe in the moment, in the relationship with the client, there is no way to go. Coaching is, we are inviting our clients at every moment to stretch, to go a little deeper, to go the extra mile, to go to places where they may not be comfortable yet. If there is no trust, the client will never feel or feel open to taking that extra step, to stretching themselves. So our ability to trust is crucial to the coaching conversation. It's interesting because trust is something that we sometimes take for granted, because everything that we do in life, it has a level of trust. If you go and drive a car on the road, we are trusting that the other drivers are following the same rules as you are, right? If you go to the supermarket and you give your credit card to the person to pay at the counter, you know, you trust that the transaction is going to be safe and everything is going to work. There is always level of trust. So sometimes we take trust for granted. Having said that, as ICF certified coaches, we need to be experts in building that trust and never take that trust for granted. It's crucial. And then we have competency number 4, which is coaching presence. And again, the ICF changes to, you know, having a verb at the beginning of every core competency. So the new presence, the new competency is called maintains presence. I have heard many coaches, and if you have been in coaching training with me, you've probably heard this before. I have heard many coaches saying that, yes, all the core competencies are crucial and fundamental. But if I had to choose one, the most important would be maintains presence, because without presence, we cannot do anything else. There is no coaching agreement, there is no trust, there is no listening or anything else. The ability of the coach to be in the moment, to be right here, right now, is crucial. And that is competency number 5 of the updated model. Active listening turns into listens actively, and it's still the same core competency, the idea of you know, the ability of the coach to listen. Sometimes we take that listening as the fundamental skill of a coach, and it is definitely, but you cannot listen if you are not present. And there is a very clear distinction between these two competencies, between maintaining presence and listen actively. So here is the emphasis of listening. The next set of competencies, competency number 6, 7, and 8, which is really like the body of the coaching moment, was condensed into one competency, which is the whole purpose of these competencies. Why are we asking powerful questions? Why are we communicating and being mindful of our language and the way we are communicating with our clients? It's all so that there is a different level of awareness in the client within that coaching session. So those competencies were grouped. Having said that, direct communication, this concept of language, this concept of communication with the client. And I have to say this because if you were trained in the past, in the present model of the competencies, oftentimes we get confused with the word direct, or we put a lot more emphasis on the word direct than on the word communication. If you read the competency, you're going to see that the ICF is talking a lot more about communication than on being direct. So that competency is all about the language, the communication flow that you have with the client. How mindful and purposeful are you of using your language in a way that resonates with your client? And that particular competency of communication is actually spread out throughout all of the other competencies. It's not necessarily only connected to competency number 7, evokes awareness, but has been sprinkled in other competencies as well. That's why it's shaded in blue there, because that competency does not have a specific correlation to any other competency, but is present in probably all of them. But anyways, the competency number 6, 7, and 8 has been grouped in this competency number 7 of evoke awareness. And then we have competency number 9, 10, 11, which is all about action, that the ICF has grouped into competency number 8. And actually, the ICF had done that before, because if you are aware of the PCC markers, in the PCC markers, the ICF had already grouped competency number 9, 10, and 11. And this competency is all about facilitating the client growth, meaning, okay, so the client had an awareness. What is the client going to do to move forward, to grow, to develop, to keep going? And it's a question of not only establishing that moment of action, but it is really to support the client to create these systems that will make the client successful in that action. So I always say to my students and mentees, the idea that, awareness is not enough. We can have an awareness, but what are you going to do about that awareness? So that's where action comes to place. But action is not enough, because I can write down a list of actions to take, and then I can turn around and go and have lunch and completely forget about those actions. So it's important for us to also bring the client to a place where they are going to be, they have created systems around those actions to be successful in really making those actions happen. And that is when we talk about accountability. The word accountability, or any word that you can use here, I prefer to use words like systems of support for the client, to make sure that the client is successful in the plan that they designed. And this is the comparison between the present model and the updated model. Again, I will encourage you to download the core competencies. The updated model is available in the ICF website, and really read all of the bullet points for each one of these competencies. You're going to see that the language, the format of these competencies is so much more clear and easy to understand, succinct, in a language that we are able to resonate with it more. However, the one thing that is important for us to understand is that between the present model and the updated model, it's really an evolution. It's not a revolution. Nothing has drastically changed in the coaching process itself, but it's really an evolution, especially an evolution of language and an evolution of concepts, so that we can be even deeper into the role of a coach. And that competency number 2, the coach mindset that we must have regardless of where we are. Thank you, Sandra, and thank you, everybody.
That was amazing. Thank you. I cannot believe you got through all of that without even taking a sip of water. That's impressive.
A mini coaching training in 20 minutes.
I want to invite anybody that has questions. Please ask them. We have a wealth of knowledge in this room right now. Obviously, with what you've just seen from Elias, we also have a few of our other coach facilitators in the room as well, on chat. So please ask any questions that you guys have about this. Raise your hand if you would like me to allow you to communicate with us using your audio. That would be a fantastic thing as well. If you want to ask a question verbally, that's great as well.
And I see Shelley saying that, when does the exam switch over to the new model? In 2021. So if you apply for your certification this year, you're still going to be assessed based on the present model, the 11 core competencies. Having said that, Shelley, do not worry. Because the bottom line, as I said, between the present model and the updated model, the bottom line of the moment of coaching is still the same. So whatever you learned in coaching training, whether if you learned through the 11 core competencies or through the 8 competencies, the concept is still the same. Your interaction with the client is still the same. And so I wouldn't worry about that at all. The exact date of when things are going to switch, the ICF has not released yet. We assume that this is going to be in the first half of 2021, and it seems like it's geared that way. But you know, these processes are, there is always a little hiccup here and there, so they don't know exactly the date, but sometime in the 2021 year.
And we also have a question from Lorraine that's come up saying, has the exam changed? So
yeah, go ahead, Sandra.
Just say, going back to what you had said, not yet. That's all I was going to say in that sense. So once the new competencies are rolled out, or the new model is rolled out, the exam likely will have an update as well. Feedback that I've received recently from some participants is that there is a great emphasis on ethics for the exam. So be sure that you're up on your ethics.
And I assume that when you're talking about the exam is the written exam, the CKA.
The CKA.
Yeah, excellent. Impact the recertification. Doesn't impact the recertification at all. When you recertify, when you renew your certification with the ICF, it's just a question of submitting new CCUs to the ICF, and your certification is renewed. So you don't have to go through any new tests or exams during the recertification process.
Yeah, the CKA is a one-time deal unless you let your credential lapse.
Many coaches I know use the format to do their coaching within, such as using a values model or other structure. Is this congruent with ICF model? I would need to know more about these models. There may be some correlation there. Andrea? Oh, you can say that to me, Andrea. I would love to hear.
And I also have a question, how many days does the ICF take now for reviewing the documentation before getting a green signal for writing the CKA? That entirely depends on the path that you're applying through for your credential. If you're going the ACTP path, it could take about 4 weeks. If you're doing ACSTH, which is what we are here at Coaching Under the Box, or a portfolio path, they can say it takes upwards of 14 weeks. I've heard of that being a much shorter time frame than 14 weeks, but I've also heard it being pretty close to accurate for the 14 weeks as well. So ACSTH, yes, it'll be the 14 weeks is the time that they say that they'll get back to you within. Do we have any other questions coming up for anybody?
Mm-hmm.
Oh my goodness, we have, I was told, heard 14 weeks and still waiting. Robin, I'm happy to chat with you about that if you need any additional support beside that or around that. Unfortunately, in the time of COVID and lots of changes, I'm assuming that, you know, with everything else, the ICF might be a bit backlogged or delayed. But if you have any specific questions around that, I'm happy to reach out to you after and chat with you as well. So what we're going to do is, we have Nahad here, who's an MCC that's joined us today, telling Robin to follow up and email the ICF credentialing, and they will respond to you and let you know where you are in the queue for that as well. So that's fantastic. Another question that I cannot answer, but you may be able to, Elias, is have the markers also changed significantly?
Not really. I know the markers already because I was in the process of translating the markers to the Portuguese language, which is my native language. And the ICF this past week has sent an embargo version of the markers to the ICF chapters. But the ICF will be releasing these publicly in the next, I believe, probably in the next few days or next week or so. So you will be receiving that. The markers not a lot of changes, but you'll see that it's the same idea of comparing of the streamlined language. It's the same mindset here, really making something that is concise and easy for us to absorb.
Okay, perfect. So if there are no other questions coming up immediately here, what I'll do is I'll move forward and do the quick coaching out of the box blurb. Mind you, most of you on here, you know exactly who we are because we have so many graduates and students and everybody that have joined us today. But just to let you know, we are coaching educators, and we're cost effective. We offer live distance education. Everything's done via Zoom. We are an ICF ACSTH approved training provider. We have proven programs and proven results. And we offer, in my opinion, the best support of any coach training organization that there is out there. It's really a community. So if you do have any questions, if you want more information, you know where to find us. So regardless of where you are in your coaching journey, we do have solutions for you. If you just want to dip your toes in and learn a little bit about coaching, I would definitely suggest our 555 Coaching Skills Training Program. If you're looking to gain your credential, join us for the fast track. We have one starting on November 2nd. If you're already a credential coach and you're looking for some CCEs, we have some great programs for you as well. Our Personal Groundwork for Coaching and our Advanced Coaching Skills Practicum are fantastic if you are, or regardless of whether or not you are a credentialed coach, but we have lots of credential coaches coming back, working towards the renewal that take those programs. And if you are wanting to become a coach educator yourself, consider our Train the Trainer for 555 Coaching Skills Training Program, where you get to become licensed to deliver our flagship program, the 555 Coaching Skills Training, as a tool in your own toolkit. And what is next? As I mentioned, Fast Track starts on November 2nd. We'd love to have any of you that are ready to become coaches come join us. It's going to be a great cohort. And you can see the other listings up there as well. We do also support organizations in developing internal coaching capacity. Happy to provide you some more information on that if that's something you would like to bring to your organization. And again, offer always stands. We are here to help. We're here to answer any of your questions, whether it's about the credentialing process, about programs, about coaching in general. Reach out at any time, okay? And I have a question. We will get access to your recording today. I'm hoping so. So Zoom sometimes takes its time buffering the webinar recordings, but as soon as that's done, we'll go ahead and upload it, and I'll send off an email that has the link to the recording in it for you all. And what are you walking away with? This might be an Elias question.
While you are answering this question in the chat, Sandra, there was a question earlier about the markers. What are the markers? So markers are what the ICF has created as to support the assessors to assess at a PCC level. That's why we call it PCC markers. It's an assessor's tool, much more than an education tool. But we, however, can learn a lot about the competencies by looking at the markers. So it's a set of parameters that the ICF has created for the assessors to standardize the assessing process. That's what the PCC markers are.
Thank you. And we have lots of people are walking away from better understanding of the changes. I love Ed's to keep calm and carry on, clarity around the updated competencies, no major change that would impact the coaches, a sense of focus on the future adaptation of, or to demand globally, but informed by the complexity of the challenges we have that separate us and those that echo for us all. I love that. And again, I'm sure most of you can read them in here. Elias, I very much appreciate your time. This has been so informative. I don't know how I could have done this without you today. You know, as a future ICF credentialed coach, my understanding of the competencies are still not quite there as yours are. So it's been fantastic, and I'm so glad we've had so many of you join us. Do you have any last minute words? We have a couple minutes left. I don't want to keep everybody on here if they don't need to be on here, but if there's anything else you'd like to add.
Oh, prodding me to pursue ICF certification. You go, John. Yes, absolutely.
Exactly.
Merci.
Awesome. Well, what we'll do, be sure to reach out if you guys all have any questions. We'll go ahead and end 5 minutes early today, which is kind of fantastic. Enjoy your Wednesday or Thursday, depending on where you are in the world. And we look forward to connecting with you all again soon.
Thank
Bye,
you,
all.
everybody. Thank you.